Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm diving into the newest devotional kit from By the Well for God. This is Revival. I do have an unboxing on my channel. I will link that down below so you can check that out. This kit is awesome. I am so excited to dive in. I'm working in day one, and she has us looking at the book of Ezekiel and God speaking to Ezekiel and giving him visions of the restoration of Israel, the coming of the Holy Spirit, and the coming of Jesus. So there's a lot of stuff to dive into just in those few passages. So definitely spend some time studying. I'm showing you here a few of the things I've pulled to complete my entry today. I picked up that Simple Stories paper pad from Hobby Lobby during their sale recently. And I'm also going to use some of these alphabets from By the Well for God also. I will link everything down below so that you can find it. And I'm going to create a little flap or tip-in, I guess, because I wanted to use a bunch of these really adorable die cuts, but I didn't want to cover the text because the verse that I'm journaling, which is Ezekiel 36:26 through 27, is down here towards the bottom underneath these die cuts. And so I also wanted plenty of room to write out a prayer, a really just heartfelt private prayer, and so that's going to go on the back of this flap. So I'm just going to work to create some fun layering on this paper piece. This is a great way to incorporate these larger die cuts into your journaling without covering the text, just by creating a little flap like this. And my flap was a little long, so here I'm taking a wet paintbrush and drawing a line right where I want to tear it, and that makes it so it'll tear right where you want it to. So there's going to be lots of little tips and tricks along the way in this video, so hold on tight. And I'm going to be using a whole bunch of different things from the kit. And like I said, I am working in Ezekiel 36:26 through 27, and that says, I will give you a new heart and a new spirit I will put within you, and I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and be careful to obey my rules. And so this is talking or prophesying about the Holy Spirit that we see enter in the book of Acts in the New Testament. And so, of course, Ezekiel is an Old Testament book. That's one thing that's so neat about the Old Testament. If you haven't spent a lot of time in there, I would really encourage you to, because there is just some amazing prophesying of things that happen in the New Testament. Jesus, the thread of Jesus is throughout the entire Old Testament. So definitely dig in and take a look at that. On screen here, these die cuts and elements in this kit have these little like glitter elements, but of course they're not really glitter, it's just printed glitter. So I decided to add some glitter. Tanya, if you're watching, look away. I know you hate glitter. Glitter is like a disease of the craft world. It gets everywhere, but I'm using a Tombow glue pen to add some glue over the areas of the die cuts where there's that glitter print, and then I'm just taking some microfine glitter. And this particular kind is from Martha Stewart. I don't know if this is made anymore. I've had it in my stash forever. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that everywhere. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have gone ahead and just heat emboss this and use like an embossing pen and then add glitter embossing powder. I do that a little bit later in the video. This glue pen is the first time I've ever used it. I don't know if it's just not a good pen or if it's just not good for glitter. I still had glitter everywhere, and I know glitter gets everywhere, but it just didn't feel like it was really holding on to the glitter very well. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to play with this pen a little bit more. But I can go ahead and just continue to add this on all the fun little places where it's sparkly and just add some fun detail. I don't know, I probably sat at my desk for an hour working on this entry. Here's a little trick for those of you who hate glitter. Take a sweeper dry cloth, and I cut mine in half so I can get more use out of them. And this grabs a hold and holds on to glitter. This was a tip that I picked up from Jennifer McGuire. I would recommend getting the name brand. These are the Target brand, and they didn't hold quite as well as the name brand. It's one of those things where I think maybe the name brand is better. And now I'm using my heat tool just to dry the glue. This is not embossing, so it's just to make sure the glue is dry. And before I insert that little flap, we're going to work on the background, and so I'm going to do some stamping using some Faber-Castell brush markers. Lori has been so sweet and has been sending me some to match the kits. If you have not picked any of these up, definitely go check her shop out. She runs a special. I think it's buy 4, get the 5th one free, which is a great deal. So definitely check that out, and it's an easy way to start kind of collecting these markers without doing it all at once kind of thing. So just grabbing some that match the kit as you go. So I'm just using that as stamp, and the big brush markers work so much better than the smaller markers for stamping. And here's a special shout out to a follower. She sent me the Lawn Fawn stamp chamois. I had mentioned in a video that I didn't have it, but I wanted to try it, and so she was so sweet and sent one to me, and I'm loving it. So this little cloth you get wet and wring out, and then you can just rub your stamps clean as you're switching through colors. So it's super great. It does stay stained. That's normal. That's just what happens with it, but it's awesome. I'm loving it. It's making my life so much easier, and I'm not using nearly as many baby wipes. So I'm sure nature appreciates that. So I'm just going to continue stamping. These do bleed through just a little bit on the back of the page because they're pretty juicy, but they're not bleeding through any more than like VersaFine ink or something like that. So really having fun now that I've got quite a stash of big brush markers. I'm having fun using those to stamp, and it doesn't give me a perfect impression, but I kind of like that. I like that kind of texture and imperfect look to it, so it is what it is. I'm pulling out the Element stamp from Illustrated Faith, and I'm going to do some heat embossing and add some sparkle to this. So I have some silver tinsel embossing powder from Ranger and some embossing ink. Now, this does cover up the text, so if you're somebody that doesn't want to cover up the text, then don't do this over the text. It does cover it. I'm prepping my page with the EK Success powder tool first, and that way the glitter will only stick to where I've done my stamping. And this embossing ink is a clear, sticky ink. It does dry a little bit slower than regular ink, but you do want to kind of move quickly, so I'm stamping all those areas, getting in there, getting it done, just kind of spread out throughout the page to bring that kind of glitter element throughout the page. And then I can go ahead and add the embossing powder. Now this is embossing powder, not just regular glitter. There is a difference, and it's going to grab a hold of everywhere where I've applied that sticky ink. And then I can just tap off the excess. And since I use that EK Success powder tool, it only sticks to where that ink is. If you don't use that tool, you have problems with it kind of sticking to other areas, maybe where a fingerprint is or where somewhere might be kind of damp still, it'll stick to that. So now I can use one of those dry cloths to pick up any stray embossing powder. Those are great to have in your craft space. And now I can heat up this embossing powder. So you do need to heat it up and melt it. And this needs a embossing tool or a heat tool. It will not melt with a hairdryer. A hairdryer does not get hot enough. And so I'm just holding that to it until it gets melted and shiny. You'll be able to see once it's melted. And it has this really pretty kind of silver sparkly effect to it. Now this does bleed through. I don't know that it's bleeding. I don't know, but you can definitely see it on the back of the page. And so if you don't want that, make sure that you add gesso to your page first. I don't care. I'll deal with it at a later time. Then I'm going to go in with some 1/8 inch score tape. This is a double-sided, super strong, sticky tape. And this is how I'm going to attach that flap in. Now what I'm doing here is I'm rubbing off tape that was left over when I applied those die cuts. I am loving the Tombow permanent dot roller adhesive. It is a permanent adhesive, but it's a dot roller, and so everywhere that it gets that you don't want it, you can just rub it and it'll come right off. I'm obsessed. It is my new favorite tape. We'll see how it goes over time. If it shows through papers and stuff like my other tapes, we'll have to see. So now it's all in there, and I have a place to do my journaling, and now I'm going to work on my title with some alphas and some stamping. So while I'm doing that, we're going to talk about the verse, and again, that is Ezekiel 36, 26 through 27, and it's talking about or prophesying about the time that the Holy Spirit's going to come and be here with us. And while I was journaling this, I was listening to Ren Collective's new CD Revival, which is perfectly suited suited for this devotional. Every song just had me on fire for God. I mean, it was just awesome. I was so excited to work in this kit anyways. Our church has been going through a really, really difficult transition and difficult time, and it's just awful to say the least. And it's just been a really rough over a year now. And I find myself losing heart, or not losing faith, but just losing that passion, that fire, because I'm just so overwhelmed with all the silliness going on in our church. But as I was working through this and as I was listening to that CD, just made me realize, like, no matter what crazy ridiculousness is going on in my local church, there's still the global church, and there's still this need to be on fire for God, and I can still do whatever work it is that He has for me to do for Him. Outside of all that craziness and outside of all the silliness going on there, and whatever might be not moving forward in my local church, I can still do that globally and just on my own with however God is guiding me. So not to say that there is an importance to having a local church. There's definitely importance to that. But I mean, ultimately, we as Christians have the Holy Spirit inside of us. And it's that Holy Spirit that gives us the ability to do His work and to just go out into the world and share the word, and that's why we've been given that. So it was just so fun to have that revival, that that fire relit in me, just did the first day of this devotional. So I cannot wait to go through the next 13 days. I'm going to have that CD on repeat for sure. It was just awesome, awesome, awesome. And so, yeah, it was just a really good time working on Bible entries. So here you can see I've gone ahead and finished it up. I'll go ahead and do a prayer on the backside off camera. And make sure that you check the description box down below for links to the products used. There's also a link to my blog where I'll have more links to the products and close-up photos of the entry today. Leave any questions or comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if it was fun. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.